Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. What?
I like to change it up every week, you know?
I feel like that's probably what you said last week. You just don't remember.
No. You know what? I don't know. But you shouldn't judge what I say in the beginning. Unless you want to.
No.
You can go ahead and start it. Go ahead.
No,
right now. We'll start it.
I'm good.
All right. Well, welcome, everyone, again, since Nathan interrupted me last
Sorry.
time.
Excuse me.
If you haven't already, you can go to iTunes or your podcast app and give us a nice old 5-star review.
5 stars.
5 stars. Best podcast in the world.
In the world.
Just to change it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Every week we can have a different message that you can put in there.
Best podcast in the world. Next week can be...
Best podcast in Westeros.
There you go. We should probably have that one for this week.
Yeah. 5 stars. Best podcast in Westeros.
There you go. I like that.
We're live from King's Landing.
We're going to be in King's Landing. We're about to get bombed, dude.
All right. Well, it's not safe anywhere. So it doesn't matter
where
it is. But anyway, this is episode 63 titled Game of Theories, because that's what this show is becoming at this point, with the amount of people that are putting theories out there with the last 4 episodes left.
The next 4 weeks, I feel like, are going to end up being Game of Thrones episodes. I mean, we almost have to, though. It's the last season.
Well, yeah, like what you're talking about with our episodes.
Right.
Yeah, what we're going to do from here on out for the next, until Game of Thrones is over, is just kind of go over a recap with you guys, theory craft a little bit, and just kind of
share what we thought about the episode.
Yeah, what we thought. If it sucks, we can say it. If it doesn't, we don't. And that's it. It'll be like a little 5-minute segment. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think you can discuss anything Game of Thrones related in 5 minutes.
30 minutes almost. Like that. Might as well just buckle in.
Yeah, like today's segment on Game of Thrones was supposed to be, 20 minutes? And then now it's like
30, 40, something like that.
Yeah.
Went a little bit longer than what we thought.
Yeah, it was good. I hope you guys enjoy it as well.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the episode yet, I would probably wait to listen to that segment of this podcast after you watched it. Or, if you don't care about it, then just go ahead.
Yeah, basically after we're done with news stories, just know it's coming. Because we don't do a spoiler alert because we forgot.
I didn't forget. I just thought Asin was going to do it, but...
Oh, and then you decided not to. But you'll interrupt me for other things, but, not for that. It's not important enough. Anyway, I'm Asin.
I'm Nathan.
And this is The Cold One with the Boys.
So, imagine being a famous sports person, any sport, doesn't matter what, and you finally get called up to do a photo shoot, okay? Like, you've seen, ESPN and things like that, the magazines that do, what is the famous magazine that does a sports cover that's always, halfway NSFW?
Dude, hold on.
Is it
Sports Illustrated?
Sports Illustrated. Well, there we go. So, imagine being called up to do a shoot for something like Sports Illustrated. You're a famous person. You look really good. You go out to Rio de Janeiro, and you're on a beach, and they're doing a photo shoot. You turn around during the photo shoot, and you see a dude with his hand on his junk in public, just wanking it.
I mean, how did they get that news story about me, because I thought I was being, hidden, but I guess not.
Well, this guy was literally in the open. He was standing, they said he was standing on a path where people pass all the time, including children. He's just sitting there. She was doing the photo shoot. She turned around and she noticed a man was watching her while touching his exposed genitals. He was visibly erect, making sounds and moaning. Like...
Yeah, that was definitely me.
I mean, he is 27. Oh, well, the lady is a Brazilian mixed martial artist, Joyce Vieira, and she's 27. She was posing and in Rio de Janeiro, and she turned around and some dude was just spanking it on the beach.
I mean, why do you think I have bruises all over my face, Nathan?
She just beat your ass, didn't she?
Yeah.
Good Lord. She apparently she got into a fight and an altercation with him. She asked him to stop. He refused and said, "Why? You don't like it? Come here." And then basically she went over there, and I think it says that she punched... he ended up punching her back after she hit him. And then she said, "The punch made me even angrier. I wanted to kill him." And at that point, the guy started screaming like a girl and ran. The cops eventually caught him after they filed a police report. He's since been released from police custody and has denied the allegations. He said he was urinating and he was not masturbating at the time. So,
I mean...
Dude, okay.
Well, hold on.
Who just walks up to a photo shoot to pee?
That's true. But I will confirm that, when I've been out doing whatever, if I'm out camping or fishing or something, I have to go pee and I go pee by a tree, I'm always like,
Do you do that though?
Yeah, like I could be mistaken maybe. No, maybe not mistaken. Like I'm not sitting there like my arm isn't going back and forth or anything. That'd be odd.
Like, hey, I was trying to get the last few drops out.
Yeah, but if you...
I don't know. I think this guy was definitely not peeing. And
probably not.
The fact that a photo shoot with a attractive half-naked female was just on the other side, like you could have picked a better place to pee if that's what you were doing. Like, I don't know.
I mean, in the United States, it doesn't matter regardless. You're going to be a sex offender.
I know. Well, so I think I'm fine with that. If you go and you pee at a school, like anywhere near a school, at the time of, kids being at the school, you need to be labeled a sex offender.
I think if you just pee in public at all.
No, I don't think so. I think you have to be at certain places because you can have indecent exposure and not be a sex offender. I think it's at specific places, around town. If you whip it out, like you're going to be on the sex offender list, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I could be wrong too. I don't know.
Some Reddit comments I found for this story cracked me up because I always have to read the Reddit comments whenever I find these stories. Because I always want to know what the people of Reddit feel when these stories come out. And one of my favorite ones is, it's getting to the point where you can't fondle yourself in public at the beach anymore.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I don't think you've ever been able to fondle yourself in public at the beach. Even at a nudist beach, I don't think you're allowed to fondle yourself.
Well... I've done it anyway. So.
You've done it anyways. A guy responding to him says, "I know, right? Can't compliment pants, can't hug for too long, can't achieve orgasm in public to an unwilling participant. This is becoming a witch hunt."
Jesus.
I love Reddit, dude. The people of Reddit amaze me every day. What a weirdo. Wait and masturbate when the pictures are done and on your computer screen like everyone else.
He just couldn't hold it, man.
I mean, obviously he doesn't get this kind of interaction in his life.
And just so I didn't no one gets their panties in a bunch. I'm kidding.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be his friend if he ever fondled himself in public and I found out about it. Now I could see you having this problem, just because you and your serious bowel movements.
Yes.
People are pooping more than ever on the streets of San Francisco.
Why would I do that?
I don't know.
It's not that I gotta poop bad. It's that when I poop, I gotta have some time.
Dude, it takes you 15 minutes plus.
That was exaggerated.
What? No, I've literally seen you go to the bathroom for 15 minutes.
I mean...
Yes. Yeah. See, now, this report is human feces incidents by year in San Francisco. And from 2011, where they had 5,500 incidents, till 2018, where they've more than doubled, with 28,000 incidents. I can't help but think that it's not necessarily a more occurrence that's continuing to happen. There's more people that are living on the streets.
Yeah, I think it's a rise of the homeless population. I've actually never been to San Francisco, but I've heard the homeless population's getting a little out of hand there.
I mean, it's too expensive to live out there, so I mean, I can understand. Obviously, these incidents are, I'm going to assume, homeless people. I don't think anybody that's not homeless is walking down the streets of San Francisco just dropping trowel and taking a dump right on the sidewalk.
Maybe Jeremy.
Maybe Jeremy. He has pooped in some very strange places. But, I can't help but wonder how much they're paying somebody or a company to keep this clean, when they could probably take that money that they're paying these people and these companies and all that and do some kind of affordable housing for these people. Like build a shelter for them to live in. I don't know what the answer to people living on the streets is, but it's got to be something better than just cleaning up their crap and going on with it.
I mean, this will be an unpopular opinion, but move.
Yeah, right. I mean, I have that same thing, but why can't they build public bathrooms? Like if there's a severe area that they're dealing with homeless people.
Because you give it a week, that public bathroom is going to be destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, that is true.
And then no one's going to use it anyway.
I think they'll still use it, though. If it's homeless people, I think they're going to use the bathroom regardless if it's destroyed or not.
That's the thing, man. There is a lot of public bathrooms. They're just like in a shopping mall or in a... I don't know. You've been in a downtown of a big city before, right? I mean, the bathrooms are everywhere. They're just inside businesses.
No, I mean, it's been so long since I've been to a major city. I don't know. It says that the city employs a poop patrol that attempts to keep the streets clean and focus on the certain neighborhoods. Like, instead of doing that, build a big bathroom in that area and have those people clean it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but the population of homeless people. I
definitely think the best choice or the best answer is to help those people vacate that area and move somewhere else.
Yes, because if they can't afford San Francisco, I mean, it's the most expensive city in the United States. So,
right.
A good solution to that is just going to the Midwest or the South, like where it's really cheap and really easy to make a living, even by yourself. So.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think the answer for that particular area is they need to come up with some kind of plan to help those people move out of there. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good idea to ship that problem from one area and just dump it in another part of the country, but that's the only logical thing I can think of.
I think a lot of people would get on their feet if they could, but To be honest with you, if you go homeless in a place like San Francisco, there's no way out. I don't care if the minimum wage is $30 an hour.
Right.
You're not going to dig those people out of there.
That is true. So you're going to have to stop bullying me on the internet now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Where do I bully you?
Dude, you bully me all the time. Like, I'm going to pull up Discord logs. I'm going to pull up Facebook logs, everything. And,
I mean, from what I'm seeing from over here about the title of this news story you're about to read, Facebook already has my real name.
well, this is a law that Austria is getting ready to draft that would require real names for internet comments. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because I don't think it's a Facebook thing. I think it's more of anywhere on the internet where you
YouTube
have
comments, Reddit.
YouTube comments, Reddit comments, things like that, right?
I think it's generally a good thing. Like even with Twitter, it could be a good thing. And the reason I say that is because I think people need to take a little more responsibility about the shit that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah, I think that is true too. I feel like people get on the internet and their pants get a little too big, you know?
Yeah, they know there's no consequences for what they're saying. Now,
Right.
I'm not talking about people that have said something like 15 years ago and then they get wrecked, 15 years later. I actually think that's really dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the people that will go on there and spew racial comments and like have no consequences because they're anonymous online, or someone that will just completely insult someone over and over and over. But if they were actually talking to that person in real life, they would not be rude at all.
Right.
And they would have a legitimate conversation. I think it could be a good thing. I think there does need to be a test market. So if Austria does this, I guess that can be the test market to see how it works out. I just know, you can see it everywhere. Any online comments you go to, any video game you play, any Discord you join, there's going to be those kids that are just like spouting the N word, and then you wonder why, racism's still around.
Well, speaking of that, did you see the video that was going around Twitter? It was sometime towards the end of last week that this female streamer was playing Overwatch, and she was in random solos, I believe, is what she was playing. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was. It had to have been. Help me out here. I can't think of the word. The competitive play.
Okay.
It wasn't free play or whatever. It was competitive play, and she was on a team, and they somehow found out she was black, and these kids literally all of them started calling her the N-word, telling her she's stupid, like she's never had an education, she's never going to amount to anything. The reason why she sucks at the video game is because she's black. Like, I know racism is still a problem, and I think it's worse in video games than it is anywhere else because, like you said, when they're behind a screen, it gives them that power because they know there's no consequences. But I haven't seen any blatant racism like that
in real life.
Not in real. Well, I've never seen that in real life, but I haven't seen a video or anything like that of blatant just being nasty in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty common, and I think the biggest factor to that is there is no consequences because those people don't have their name online. Their buttlicker69 or whatever the hell their username is, and there's no consequence for that, so they can put on their racist pants and say whatever they want to. And I don't know, I definitely think that's an issue, and there does need to be a test market for having your real name available. Now, that could also be a problem because just because your real name is there doesn't necessarily mean it'll stop it. Because, some kid in the US talking shit to some kid in France might still do the same shit because there's no way this
Right.
kid is going to come from France and come over here and say something. So it's still a possibility that will exist online, but at least there's a name to the person. I just know in real life, if they were in that same situation, if those same 6 people on that Overwatch team were playing like volleyball at a park together,
right,
and let's say she wasn't doing too hot at the game, this black girl, she wasn't doing too hot at volleyball, they wouldn't start spewing that shit in her face. There's no way. So. There's no way.
No, they think they're bigger and badder than what they are because they're on a computer. But yeah. I don't know. Austria's government has introduced a draft law that would require you to provide your real name and address to a larger sites, I'm assuming Facebook, YouTube, things like that, before commenting. You could still use your nickname in public, but authorities would have an easy way to find you if they believe you're harassing users or otherwise violating the law. So I think for this to work in any large scale, this would have to become a worldwide accepted thing. And it would have to be, even if you're in the United States and you're harassing or bullying somebody in Indonesia, I think the local authorities of wherever you're at are going to come to you like, hey, this is your one warning. If we catch you doing this again, like, you're going to get a fine. I
don't know how I feel about that, especially with how, I wouldn't say it's easy, but especially with how rampant like hacking issues are.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So if everyone's first and last name and their address is available online, that, I mean,
well, they're going to have a way to keep that information separate, right?
Right, but I mean, not saying that it isn't already available online all over the place. If you really want to look for someone's address, I'm sure you could find it. This would just make it all in one place that someone can look.
That is true.
But I don't know. I don't know if that would stop it or not. I honestly don't think it probably would.
I just feel like people, I don't know. I'm really torn because you're starting to get into the fringes of like freedom of speech.
Right.
But like, the freedom of speech doesn't give you the freedom to be a dickbag.
I think it does.
You think so?
Like, this is the thing, and this is why I'll always support freedom of speech over like the people that say like you shouldn't say hate speech and there should be laws against hate speech. The reason I don't agree with that is because I want someone to have the freedom to say whatever the hell they want, so that I know to stay away from that person. Because if someone is going to get prosecuted for saying the N-word, and then they'll never say it because they don't want to get prosecuted, and they'll be just a secret racist. I would rather them be out and proud about it, so I can be like, fuck that guy, and everything he stands for.
Fair enough, yeah. I get that.
That's the way I look at it. Now, as far as, I don't know how to go at it as far as like reducing that, because if we put a law around hate speech and people weren't allowed to say these things, I think it would exist just as much. It would just be
hidden.
Yeah, it would be hidden, or in little friend groups like online. In your Discord, people are just going to be spewing it. It would still be online, in video games. There's
right.
No one's going to prosecute you for your username unless something like this was implemented, I guess. That's just a little too much security and a little too much of a breach of privacy for good people.
Right. Yeah.
That don't deserve to be pried into, that, don't do that. But I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, to be honest.
I'm all like, this is kind of going away. We started kind of going away from gaming with this thing, which I mean, I'm assuming this law is more towards Facebook comments, YouTube comments, but if you are going to spew your nasty shit online, whether it be racist, homophobic, whatever, they just ISP ban you. Like, you're no longer allowed on that game, on that website, through your ISP.
Well, it doesn't necessarily even, it shouldn't even be an ISP ban. It should just be just like how Twitter bans people. That's up to them. It's their private company. They're fully allowed to do that. And they do that. Same with Facebook. You know, if you're spewing some racist stuff over and over, they have the right to ban you. And I fully respect that, even if I don't agree with why they banned someone. I respect a private company to be able to do that. But your internet, if your internet was able to do that, I think that'd be a little, I mean, I know they're a private company as well.
Okay, so maybe not your ISP. Say for like those kids on Overwatch, I feel like they're maybe not their ISP, but their IP address is banned by Blizzard. Like they're not allowed to play on Blizzard's platform anymore.
And I mean, Blizzard does do stuff like that. I'm sure if she sent that video in and they were able to track those people down, I'm sure they would get banned.
I'm sure they did. I know I read something about them.
Yeah,
Blizzard taking steps in order to make sure those people never play again. But
there's definitely plenty of steps out there for that, but it's not eliminating the people really.
Well, maybe this needs to become more like Blizzard needs to address it. I don't know. Maybe they need to come out and make a statement and say, if you are caught talking like this, as was, stated in this video, like, we're going to ban you, you're no longer going to be able to play our video games. I feel like there's not enough consequences that are out there for people to, like, maybe I shouldn't say that.
Right. And the biggest thing that I think the connecting piece of information we need is, like, if Blizzard comes out and says something like that, and then someone breaches that rule and they say the N-word to someone, in a hateful manner or whatever, Blizzard should have the ability to get that person's name and address and be able to not only ban that IP, but make sure that that person can't get a VPN and or a proxy and just get around it and still play on a different account or something. Like, they need to almost like track that person and be like, look, you're banned, buddy. Like, you messed up. We gave you warnings, whatever.
At the end of the day, I think people just need to stop being douchebags.
Probably.
No more baby mamas, no more kids to watch, cause I got babysitters. Now it's time for licking, come on, give it to me, cause it's my escape. Now it's time to annihilate, let my troubles all die away. I'm on a diet, Please do not try this, cause do not invite it. I'm dripping in go call the Midas. This night I was excited, it got me reignited. I've been waiting so long I can't fight it, but now I'm Mike Tyson inside, I'm on fire. It ain't nothing like a true brother.
Alright, so we have completed watching, or finished watching. That was weird. Watching.
I mean, both work technically, yeah.
We have finished watching season 8, episode 2 of Game of Thrones. And at this point in time, alive or dead, what character? Now, I'm not saying like character as far as like, how good they've done in the show, but just in general, your favorite character, dead or alive so far, of how their character is kind of played out in the show.
Like who, like not my favorite character, but whose character did the best in the show?
No, I guess it could be your favorite character as well. But just kind of like, which character did you like, just love how they played out in general?
I think I'd have to go with the Hound. I feel like I relate most to the Hound. Or
yeah,
I want, like, if I was in that situation, like, I would hope, even though I'm not 6'9", a beast, I would hope, like, that's kind of the story that I would want to be a part of. Like, that's who I would want to be, is the Hound. And he's had a really good story. He came from protecting the Lannisters to protecting the Starks in a sense. Like he protected Arya for a while, and he went from kind of a shitty spot, and now he's back into a shitty spot almost. Where he's at in the show now. But I feel like he's probably the character that I've enjoyed watching go through the entire series. I'm always wondering what he's doing, where he's at, what's going to happen to him. And he's the only one that I really super like that's been in the show the entire time and is still alive. So,
yeah, I could see that. I mean, first of all, you're just grumpy like the Hound. So
that is true.
You're just actually the Hound. There's also, I don't know if you ever noticed, but like every time I look at the Hound's face, with all his makeup on and everything for the show, he actually looks like a hound to me. Like he looks like
a dog.
Yeah, he looks like a big, like guard dog.
Like a mutt, like a...
Yeah, like that. His hair, how it falls on his face. He just looks like a mutt that's like, dude, get away from my people.
Yeah, he looks like he belongs in a scrapyard behind a fence. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I feel like Joffrey said something about him looking like a guard dog, and that's why he called him the Hound. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's something like that.
I don't remember that far back, but...
That is a ways back.
But the Hound has a good story. I do feel like so far anyway in this new season, it's been kind of lackluster, but I understand they're kind of shuffling everyone's story together right now. They're not giving too much time on any of like the B characters like the Hound, and they're focusing mostly on like them, the people that are going to make the main storyline flow forward.
Well, at this point in time, basically what they're having to do is they're having to take all these separate storylines that have been going through the entire show, and they're having to bring them all together in the same place.
Right.
And so to do that, they're going to have to take time and tell the stories of how they're getting back together, I feel. And, if you were expecting a lot of action and death and battle in these first few episodes, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But I personally knew that was going to happen. I went into this, people were like, oh yeah, they're going to start right off this season with, the big battle, them coming across the wall. I'm like, no, they're not, dude. Like, that's not Game of Thrones fashion at all. Like the first few episodes are always
set up.
They're always, well, I want to use the word slow, but they're not really slow. They're very good at setting, like you said, setting up the story. And I feel that's very important in a show like this. If they start leaving a bunch of loose ends, that's when it kind of goes and it's no good.
If you don't like Quentin Tarantino, you probably won't like the first 2 episodes.
That's true. That's a very good analogy. Like if you can sit through Quentin Tarantino movies and you enjoy them, I feel like you'll enjoy Game of Thrones.
Yeah, those long form conversations and things like that. But before we get too much into the episode, I guess I'll just go forward with my character, which is already dead. I've said this from the beginning. I think the most well played character that, in my opinion, even now, has been the most successful at playing the Game of Thrones is Littlefinger, or Peter Baelish. And the reason I say that is he started from a nobody family, not noble, nothing, to becoming Lord of the Vale, like within a small span of years. It was insane. With how manipulative he's been throughout the whole show, I definitely wouldn't say he's my favorite character because, of how he's acted or the things he's done. He's a dickhead that deserves...
He's a terrible person.
Yeah, he's a dickhead that deserves exactly what he got, and I fully agree with what happened to him. But, beforehand, just with the things he said to Varys, the things he said to Ned, and just the shit he's just been like slithering through this whole show, and finally getting what he deserved. I think that story arc of just Littlefinger throughout this whole show has been amazing for me to watch. Now there's many other storylines as far as a character that's still alive. That's my favorite. I think at this point, the person I want to see succeed the most is probably Jon Snow, because I feel like he's probably the only truly honorable leader left. I think Daenerys is a little too power hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cersei's obviously out of her mind.
Yeah, she fell off a rocker a long time ago.
Yeah, and I just think he's the last honorable person to be able to lead. And maybe even Sansa. I think she's grown up so much.
Mm-hmm.
She could be a good leader, better than Daenerys, in my opinion.
For sure.
But enough about that. So as far as the actual episode itself, kind of take us through a little bit of how it began, and we'll just go through the episode.
So to recap the entire episode, just TLDR for the parts. The episode started with Jaime Lannister appearing before with the people of Winterfell. He had shown up at the very end of episode 1, just staring at Bran, and Bran having his blank stare, staring back. But he had to go in front of Daenerys, Sansa, Jon, and even Tyrion was there. And he kind of got off easy.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of surprised by how easy they let him go, and I understand. Brienne came up and vouched for him, and Sansa vouched for Brienne. So I understand, but at the same time, this is the guy that killed your father. I feel like Daenerys would have been so much more pissed about this guy.
He's responsible for Daenerys' father's death. Excuse me. He's responsible for Daenerys' father's death. He's responsible for basically Ned Stark's death.
Right.
He's responsible for the downfall of many different family lines in the show. I mean, you have the Tyrells. He conquered the Tyrell castle. This guy has done a lot of bad stuff in this entire show. He tried to push Bran out the window and kill him. He's not a good guy.
Right. And another thing is the last time Daenerys saw him, other than when they were all in their meeting at King's Landing with the White that they brought from beyond the wall. But before that, their last meeting was that battle where Bronn shot the dragon with the scorpion.
Right, when she just showed up with her entire army.
Yeah, and it's like you're battling this dude, then you guys have this summit of, getting together and making this plan to fight the dead, and then all of a sudden he's on your side. I don't know, I think it may be a good leader quality that should just let it go, for now at least. So maybe that's just a glimpse of Daenerys understanding the toll that could have if she doesn't let it go.
Well, I hate to be this way, but I think it's honestly just in convenience of time for the show. Because they have, they only have, 4 episodes left, and they have so much left to do. They would spend a whole episode either killing this guy or, take half an episode with him being thrown in jail or something. I literally think in the aspect of time that they have left for the show, they just kind of pushed it through, and I think that's noticeable through a lot of the season so far.
Well, I don't think it's only just the show. I think it's just the time of they need to hurry up with everything they're doing because they could be attacked at any moment. So I think not only the show itself seems a little rushed, but the people in the show seem a little rushed themselves, which they should, that they're trying to figure all these alliances out before the battle happens, because at that point, you're fighting. So it was a good decision. At this point, I do like Jaime. I like what he stands for. I do think he's a good guy generally. At least now, he fights for what he thinks is right. So
right, I think Brienne just wants him for his hair.
Probably.
So yeah, that was the big part at the beginning. Probably the most notable part of the entire episode, and basically what blew up Twitter that night and this morning that we read were the Arya memes with her and Gendry.
Hell yeah.
So basically, after the whole stuff with Jamie she ends up coming back down talking to the bastard blacksmith, the Baratheon kid, while he's, working on this dragon glass weapons, and she's talking to him, trying to figure out, how do the White Walkers, fight? Like, you fought them. Like, I need to know kind of how they act. Like, their tactics, what was it like fighting them? I think she's trying to figure out what she has to do to try and stay alive. And she threw out some little, she like kind of showed her badassery. She picked up those daggers and started like chunking them into the wall. And I think he kind of got an idea that she's not just a kid anymore.
He's like, all right.
He's like, all right, girl. What up, girl? But that later turned into a full-blown sexual tension scene just coming out of the TV.
Hell yeah.
And the memes that came out afterwards were awesome.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen them, you just need to go to Twitter and type in hashtag Game of Thrones or hashtag Arya, and you'll probably see all of them. But you know what I find funny about this whole thing is you never really saw too much about like when Ramsay Bolton was trying to rape Sansa as like a 16, 17-year-old girl, or Daenerys being sold off to Drogon as his wife for the what are they called?
Jesus.
Yeah,
I was about to call him the Drakari.
That's definitely not what it is.
And by the way, his name is Drogo. You called him Drogon, which is
that's the dragon. Same thing.
The Horse Lords. That's what we'll call them because I can't think of
the name now. But like nobody made Dothraki. Nobody made memes about that. But as soon as she got half naked and you got a little side boob of that actress, everybody lost their mind.
Hell yeah! Like this is the thing. I was surprised.
I honestly didn't expect her to get naked on scene.
You go, girl. You have great body. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm being Gendry here, being all shy and shit. But no, the one thing that I thought was funny that no one else, I doubt anyone else probably listening to this or Nathan or anyone that I watched it with was thinking. But as soon as like she asked Gendry, how many girls have you slept with? And he said 3. My immediate thought went to American Pie, where they said the rule of 3. If a guy says he's slept with 3 women, it means 1 or 0. That's immediately what I thought of. I was like, this dude's a liar.
Dude, I didn't think about that at all, but I don't know like obviously they didn't televise him having relationships with another female in the show. But he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that was sleeping around too much.
I mean, blacksmiths get laid, man. What can I say?
Are you sure?
I don't know.
He was up north for a long time. I don't think there was very many women up there.
I think his longest arc was in King's Landing.
That is, I think so. Yeah.
And there's plenty of brothels there.
That is true. But it's probably still 0. I mean, look at the guy.
Oh, come on. He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah. That's funny, though. It's funny that you bring that up.
Yeah, like that's just immediately what I thought of. But no, it was a surprising scene. And, you look back to recaps of old seasons and you see Arya in season 1 and her, the actress was 14 years old back then, but she
looked like she was 7.
She looked 8 or 10, she looked really young.
Yeah.
And even now she's 22, but okay, when she took her clothes off, I was like, all right, that is a woman, but when she has her clothes on, she still looks 17, 18, right in that area.
I don't know. She doesn't look over 18, that's for sure.
Yeah, so you know, all the power to Arya with her little dominant woman power over the man.
I mean,
Little
it's,
sex scene. I liked it.
excuse me. I feel like I got something in my throat. I don't know what it is. But I mean, I get it. Like, the world's about to end. She didn't want to die a virgin. I understand. I always had that fear when I was a kid. You know, like I can't blame her.
I mean, yeah, I would do the same shit. Even if I wasn't a virgin, I'd be like, man, it's probably gonna be my last night living.
Might as well do it.
Right. Let's get it going. You know, I'd probably even ask Nathan.
I mean, I'd give you a nice hug. That'd be about it.
Or like, dude, like
I
we
mean,
could 69 or something. You know?
Anyways, Jamie ends up meeting Bran next to his favorite little tree. What is it with him in that tree, dude? Is that the Raven's tree?
It's I don't remember. I'd have to rewatch the whole show again to remember kind of the huge significance of the tree. Because it has like a connection to the old gods or something that's
gods, yeah,
something of that sort. But it just every time I see that tree, it just reminds me of like Awa from the Avatar movie. Like they have these trees that communicate and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a special kind of tree. But I think that scene was important because it just shows that, you know, Brandon Stark isn't
He isn't
Brandon
Bran
Stark
anymore.
He's just almost like a neutral entity of nothingness that, you know, he doesn't care that should happen to him at this point. He's something else. He has no qualms with Jamie. So I think that was a good little thing to put in there, kind of like a loose end to tie up, which they still have a lot to tie up in these last 4 episodes. So we'll see.
I hope they do it good. Like, I hope it's just not just mesh thrown together.
Right.
So other than that, they had some like battle plans where they set up what they were gonna do once the battle, commenced. People are gonna be hiding in the crypts, which I think they're all dead. I feel like you're putting a bunch of people where there's a bunch of dead people when you're fighting somebody that can turn dead people into fighting warriors. Like, what about that just doesn't sound right? Like, that's obviously they're not thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like it. Really seems like they're at a huge disadvantage. Not only are they outnumbered, but any one of them that dies gets raised for the other side.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very very bleak on their end. But I think you skipped over one of the most important, one of my favorite parts of the whole episode.
What
is the whole campfire scene of all those people around the fire talking and singing and talking about drinking giant's milk. And
was that before or after that?
I think that it was just kind of thrown throughout the whole episode. It wasn't like a certain scene because it kept going back to that campfire. More people started coming in because at first it was just Tyrion and Brienne and Podrick, and then Davos came in. Or no. At first it was just Tyrion and Jamie. Yeah, that's right. And then, Brienne came in, Davos came in. They all just started coming in. Tormund, one of the best characters in there.
One of my favorite characters for sure.
Yeah, they all just kind of sat around the campfire, and I think it was a really important piece of the story for Brienne. And it one thing you'll notice throughout this whole episode is it's tying a lot of these B character stories up.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting them prepared to die.
It's basically everybody coming together to say their goodbyes to the show. Like, it's allowing fans to go, oh, this was my favorite part. I remember this. They all got together, told goofy stories, and then they're all going to die. Like,
especially the most prominent one to me was Brienne of Tarth, how this whole show she's been about honor and protecting and doing the best she can as a person, and that symbol of being knighted as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
being knighted by Jaime as, you know, a knight of the seven kingdoms, like it completed her. And at that point, now that she's completed, her story arc's done. She has nothing left to do except, she can survive. I'm not saying she'll definitely die.
Oh, she's definitely dead, 100%.
I think so too. But I think that's what it is. It closed so many of these people's story arcs off. The Hound, what else does he have to do other than die by Arya's hand if that's going to happen?
I think he's going to have to fight the Mountain again. I don't think he's going to die.
That's true.
Because I think he's going to have to fight and kill him.
Clegane Bowl, dude.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So, he still has something to live for. But there's, other characters. Tormund. He doesn't, unfortunately, I love Tormund, but, his story arc is kind of, he's that Viking that's ready to die in battle, Right,
but I think if even though I think both of them are going to die, I still feel like one of the best endings of the show would be the two of them getting married.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, of course. They'd have giant babies and yeah, that'd be dope. Even though she has a thing for Jaime.
That is true. You can't always get what you want.
Jaime seems to have a thing for her too. There's that scene that we talked about earlier today where Jaime's talking to Tyrion on the ramparts, and all of a sudden he just like walks off and starts looking into the distance.
I thought the walkers had showed up.
Immediately, like all of us in the room that were watching were like, are they here? Like, holy shit, is it going to start in this episode? And then he's just looking at Brienne, and it's like, oh damn, he's that entranced by her. So,
well, he basically did just save his life at the beginning of the episode.
That is true.
I feel like if it wasn't for her, they probably would have like cut his head off or something.
Probably. Maybe.
Or at least cut off his other hand.
Cut off his other. Then he'd be useless.
It's probably what they want, is for him to be. He technically is useless at this point. Like, he's not the greatest fighter with his left hand.
Right, but he's still a sword,
I guess.
I'm sure they'll show him fighting a little bit. But anyway, that scene with Tormund and the giant's milk. Oh my god, man!
Definitely my favorite scene so far of this season is that little campfire area with them.
They call me Giantsbane because I killed a giant, and then I mounted his wife and sucked on her teat for like 3 days. I was like, what?
I think what he said is, I killed a giant. I crawled into bed with his wife. She woke up, and then she thought I was like one of the giant babies, and so she started breastfeeding me her milk.
Right.
And I was like, what? Like, obviously that's got to be a made-up story.
I don't know, man. Tormund would be the one to do it.
That is true. I don't know. I'm glad he's always had those funny arcs, and he's kind of like the comic relief of, a lot of stuff that happens in the show. And if he does die in the next couple episodes, at least they did do a really good, send off for him. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. So I just think it set up a lot of people to die. And I do think that next episode's going to be that pivotal, huge battle, Helm's Deep, that biggest cinematic battle in TV history. I think that's going to be next episode, or at least a portion of next episode. So I guess we'll see. I feel like a lot of people are going to die. It's the nature of Game of Thrones.
Right. It's definitely that this company loves to rip people's hearts out.
Yeah.
Like viewers, they just love to piss them all off. So we'll just have to wait and see. But
so speaking of like ripping people's hearts out, what about how you think the show will end?
I don't know, dude. I've been listening to too many theory crafters on this, and now I don't know.
Every one of their theories makes sense.
It does. They all make sense. The show could end any number of ways, and I don't think I would be upset with any ending that they come up with. There are going to be endings I would rather have, other than others, but I don't think there is an ending that I'd be like, okay, this is dumb. This was a waste of the entire show. Like, I don't think they can have a bad ending at this point.
I think there's 2 endings that I'd be disappointed with. Just because it's like, it's those endings that you could have seen from like season 5.
Like, disappointing enough to where it ruins the entire show?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, one of them is Cersei winning.
You're going to have to leave that in the cards, though. Like, that is...
I know.
I
know it's a possibility. That's why it's not out of the, until it happens, we don't know. But that's one ending that I'd be like, okay, what was the point of this entire other story arc if Cersei's just going to win I mean, it's a possibility. Not going to count it out. I hope it doesn't happen. The other one would be, and this is even more possible, is Daenerys becoming queen and ruling the 7 kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's far too power hungry. I know she's a badass. I'm not saying she's not. I know she's like a symbol of woman power, and I have nothing against that. However, to be a king or queen of the 7 kingdoms, I think you have to have a certain nobility and humbleness, and she does not have that.
She's a Targaryen, dude. She's gonna go buck wild here before long.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, we forgot to recap that one of the most pivotal scenes of the episode at the end is the reveal from
where he tells her,
from Jon to her that he's Aegon Targaryen. She didn't seem to care. Pissed. She didn't seem to care one bit about the incest or the love that they're having or any of that.
They're bumping uglies, and the first thing she says
is, "Oh, so now you're the current heir to the throne." And she had a pissed off looking face, and I'm like, oh man, here comes the Mad Queen.
Yeah, the Targaryen's coming.
Yeah, Targaryen's about to bust out of that. So I don't know, but as far as the end of the show, one big possibility that I think could be very plausible is the Night King just wins and shows how humanity too often doesn't come together to solve big issues until it's way too late. And I think that would just kind of be a slap in the face of the 7 kingdoms and everything they've been going through, these small quabbles, to just, be like, look, we said winter was coming in season 1, episode 1.
Right.
And no one cared until recently.
If you think about it, one of the very first things that happened is the one Night's Watch guy that escaped, that Ned Stark beheaded.
Yeah.
The first thing he fessed up. He's like, I'll admit my bad. I deserted my post, but I did that so that I could tell you that the White Walkers are here. Like the dead are coming across. Like it's starting now. And they just lopped the dude's head off and was like, he's a, baddie. And then they just decided that all this other stuff was more important and blah, blah, blah. And now it's too late. I would honestly be fine with them killing everybody and the White Walkers winning.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a possibility. I mean, the Children of the Forest created the White Walkers to combat the First Men.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even in real life, you see how destructive men or mankind can be. So I think the whole show could kind of be a metaphor of, how destructive we can be in real life with our wars and things like that. So that would be like one of those endings that just makes everyone kind of think a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would be disappointed, I think, but I wouldn't necessarily mind that ending.
I think my favorite ending would be the one that quite a few people have talked about, and it would be at the very end of it. It shows Samwell Tully is an old man. Tarly?
Yeah.
Is it Tarly? Yeah, Samwell Tarly is an old man, and he's writing the story, and this was him telling the story at the end.
I think, to just add a nice little touch, that old Samwell Tarly should be played by George R.R. Martin.
I think that'd be a good
He's an old big guy, he could be an old Samwell Tarly.
Mm-hmm.
as like a maester way in the future, and he's just writing the Song of Ice and Fire. That would be dope.
I think that'd be a good ending.
And I think regardless of how it ends, I mean, if the Night King wins, that pretty much means everyone's dead. So I don't think that could be a possible ending. But the only spoiler alert, if you haven't already noticed.
Oh my God, we spoiled the entire thing.
If the only thing they've gotten out of the actors and or George R. R. Martin. Wow. George R. R. Martin. Jesus.
Spit it out.
The only thing they've gotten out of any of those people is that the ending is going to be bittersweet, which means that generally it may be a good ending, but there's going to be a lot of suffering in it too. So I don't think just from that comment, I don't think the Night King will win.
Right.
I just think a lot of people will die, and that the people that are left may be characters we like, but not necessarily like, it'll be characters we like, but a lot of our favorites will be dead. So it'll be like, well, this, the rest of this show, which there won't be any more show, but the rest of this world is going to be run by these people here, and everyone else is dead.
I would be fine with all the A-class actors dying and being nothing but the B-class actors left.
Yeah,
I would be okay with
that's
that.
not going to happen. Yeah. But anyway, so what we'll do from here on out is every week we'll do a little recap of the Game of Thrones episode to talk about it, theory craft, because you can ask Nathan. Since it came up, we're recording this on a Monday. So since yesterday, since the episode came out, I've been theory crafting his head into the ground all day at work.
Literally all day today at work, I had to listen to Game of Thrones theory crafting.
Yep, and I just can't stop talking about it. So we'll just have a segment every week where I just get all my thoughts out about the episode. So
I'm just gonna make it illegal to talk about at work.
Wow.
Wow.
You can just go suck on some Giant's milk, dude.
Yeah. Catch me outside, dude.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We're signing off. I'm Asen, and I'm always right.
I'm Nathan.
See you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Hey you. Yes, you. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and even if you didn't, we would love to hear your feedback, which can be sent to coldonepodcast@gmail.com or leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us gauge how we can make this podcast better for your enjoyment. If you would like to contact us, you can do that through our email or follow us on social media, which is @coldonepodcast for Twitter and Facebook. We are now on Spotify as well as most podcast apps in existence, but if you prefer to listen to it online, head on over to our website, actionsperminute.net, for the latest episodes, a link to the APM Network Discord, or to check out any of our APM sponsored streamers. And lastly, if you like what we do, tell your friends and spread the good word. Thank you again, and remember, don't drink and drive.